Welcome to Tech This Way.
Boleh?
Boleh.
Okay, good afternoon.
Hi.
Eugene,
Hello.
CIO of The Star.
Yes, thank you.
It's been many years.
Many years.
Thanks for coming.
No worries, anytime.
Okay.
Very near your place.
Yeah. So I wanted you in because it's quite interesting to see how, especially in the publishing, right, the news world, the print has obviously been challenged by digital.
Yes.
So I would like to see how a traditional news media
Sure.
reacts to that lah.
Sure.
But I guess before we go there, a little bit about Mr. Kang Eugene himself lah. Go far, how many years that you want lah, you know?
How many years?
And how you end up in the Star.
How I ended up in the Star. Okay lah. So I have a quite interesting story. I joined. So I've got a computer engineering degree. My first job was in Accenture.
Oh,
like you,
those guys.
like Jasmine. So I spent 13 years in Accenture. So quite interesting. I did mostly core banking.
Okay.
I did core insurance.
Sorry, these things always happen. But never mind.
Yeah. So and then
Core banking. So it was more FS lah, kind of.
I was doing FS. So it's banking, insurance, merger.
Okay.
I think during the .com days also did. Actually, I did the first digital bank in Singapore.
Oh wow, what was that?
Yeah, that was called Fnatic, but it's closed down already.
Okay.
It was too early in its time.
So that was the pure digital, branch banking.
That was entirely pure. So that was quite interesting because OCBC Bank had a spare banking license. They had this Bank of Singapore license that I think they were not doing anything. So this was year 2000.
Okay.
Right?
Fairly recent, I guess.
No. Year 2000,
Only
very
20
long time
years
ago. That time.
Sorry, you just move your mic slightly closer.
Yeah. So
You can move the mic.
So year 2000, I think. Or could it be
In
earlier?
Singapore,
Around that.
Okay.
Around that.
That was
time.
around the .com bust, boom
That
and bust.
Time was around .com era. So that time, let me see what happened. I think internet still quite slow. I think modem still 13 dot.
Okay, still dial up lah.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And then you still got those dongles and all that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was involved. So Accenture was brought in to do some digital bank for OCBC. So OCBC launched a digital bank. So phase one was purely investments, unit trust.
Okay.
Right? So they competed with people like Dollar Dex, Fund Supermart, those days. Yeah.
Who would the actual customers be? Normal retail people?
Retail customers.
Retailers.
Yeah.
But how much penetration would internet have been then?
That one quite tough lah. So I think it. So there are some articles on the internet. You can go and Google and you can read it on LinkedIn also. So a guy did analysis. Basically, we were a bit too early in our time. Too early, and then so there was no KYC, no digital KYC, no nothing, right? So you literally download a form, fill up paper, and then you post it. And then
post it as in post.
You post
not email.
Snail mail snail mail.
Oh, so you download the forms, you print it at home.
Correct.
And then you just
post it in.
post
Then
it,
I
right.
think
That's
then
cool.
Manually somebody
will review it.
Yeah, review it. Yeah. So it took about maybe 2-3 weeks to onboard you and things like that lah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So a bit too seriously. It was too early in our time lah.
Do you remember at that point if anywhere else in the world people were having digital banks already?
Yes. If you remember in the early, there was a bank in US called S1.
No.
Oh, Security First.
Okay.
First, I think. Security First. Yeah, that was quite a famous. I don't know whether they're still operating. Yeah, so.
Okay. So then what happened? So you were really in banking.
Yeah, so I was really doing banking. In fact, my first project was core banking. We built the core banking for MBI Finance.
Okay.
Yeah, from scratch. So there was Windows 3.1, Tuxedo, OLTP monitor.
Old Klang Road.
Oracle 7.
Wow.
I think it was Sun Solaris.
That was a platform that Anderson Consulting then, right?
Yes, Anderson Consulting and
to package and sell.
Correct. And the interesting thing about that platform was, so that was done for MBF Finance. Then that went live in mid 90s, and then MBank acquired MBF.
Yeah.
So MBank was running a mainframe core banking, and then but they kept the MBF system for the more complex products or products that the mainframe couldn't handle. So it was quite funny.
Cool, huh?
Yeah. So the MBF system was running Islamic products,
Right.
and basically anything that the mainframe cannot handle. So yeah, so I think it was only decommissioned maybe about 5-6 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
so
with core banking systems, they tend to last quite a bit, I guess.
Yeah. So I did quite a bit of core banking. After that, I left Accenture in 2005.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that time, if I remember, for you to make partner, you need to hit some sales targets. So I had a 5 million sales target then. USD sales target, and that time was thick in the Asian financial crisis.
Right. So it's a little bit challenging,
quite challenging. And my skill set, I was quite good at running projects, or I solve problems for people, but I'm generally not so great in selling. So I remember that year I scraped in about $1 million plus US. So then I was thinking, wow, quite susah. And then I remember there were two other guys who are my peers, right? And we were all vying for partnership. So I was vying for this core insurance project in Singapore, Great Eastern. So that was 74 million Sing.
Right. So and that would have been the one lah.
Oh, that was the one. And then I had two more peers. One peer you also know. He was fronting banking outsourcing.
Okay.
And then another peer was in Singapore. Singapore so few banks. So it's the number one bank in Singapore. Core banking also, I think. So that time we were thinking, the three of us, because we were all good friends, I was thinking, who has the best chance of making partners?
And there was a slot for one lah.
Most likely lah. But somehow then but I didn't make it because so for my 74 million, the guy that was phase 2, because phase 1 was done by IBM.
Okay.
And I think the client decided, okay lah, continue your IBM lah. Okay lah, so I didn't get that. And then the other guy who was running the outsourcing deal for the bank, so a third party came in and invested in the bank. So the outsourcing deal didn't come through. And then the guy down in Singapore who we thought had the lowest chance, because there was an incumbent provider there, so we thought he had the lowest chance. But somehow, by some miracle, he pulled it through, so he won. So that time I was thinking, I said, very susah to make partner. I think it's all luck on the. So I left. Then I joined MetLife.
Okay.
So I was doing MetLife for about 3 years lah. So when I was in MetLife, I was traveling quite a bit, because MetLife then in 2005 didn't have any presence. So I know now there is MetLife, but in 2005 there was no such thing. So I was basically there was a small bunch of us, and we so MetLife in the US had two businesses. They had MetLife US, and then they had international. So international was all those non-US, which is Australia, India, Korea.
Right.
So they hired a few of us because they've got experience working with Accenture before. So they hired a few of us ex-Accenture.
So if you could just pull the mic.
Yeah, because we were because we were lower cost.
Right. But you were supporting which countries?
I was all non-US countries. So literally, there was a few of us. Literally every alternate week we were flying. So it was Brazil, Mexico, Australia, Korea, India. So the biggest projects was in Korea.
That was fun, though, to be traveling a bit.
Okay lah. So first year quite fun. Then second year getting a bit taxing. Then after the third year, for me lah, I was getting a bit quite tiring lah.
Right.
And actually, it's not the flying. So it's flying during normal hours. Then when you're back locally, your mornings are conference calls with the Asian countries. At night you do conference calls with the US because you got to do some stakeholder management and things like that. So literally you're like 20 hours. So I got a bit tired. Then I left. I wanted to come back to consulting. So tried working for IBM for a while. So I joined IBM, but I probably lasted only about a year lah.
Okay.
Because when I was in IBM, they asked me to front Mbank, right? So it's all
delivery or sales?
Supposedly, well, I had the architect role, and then but somehow that also became sales.
Okay.
Right, and then so I had to do core banking for Mbank, and bizarrely I had to do IFRS.
You guys got it lah. You got the project.
We sold them the upgrade lah, because they were running, Mbank was running a very old mainframe system, so we sold them the upgrades and all that. But the core banking, then there was an application piece. So the application piece had different vendors. But by that time already I left.
Okay.
Actually I joined Mbank, right?
Oh, okay.
So
you were serving them for SIBM, and then
I was serving them for SIBM. So I did the strategy for them for SOA that time lah, and for what to do with the mainframe. Did the strategy for should we migrate out of the mainframe or stick with the mainframe, or migrate out of the existing core banking or get a new core banking. So finally we decided let's get a new banking system, because
was Charles there at the time?
Yeah, Charles was there.
Okay.
Because the core banking system was quite old. I think it was about 16 years old. So in the minds of management was upgrade would be simple, but because the system is so old and the base was from the US. So when you do an upgrade, you basically take the base from the US and then you start from scratch. So the US base had no Islamic banking, no nothing. Right. So the effort to do upgrade is almost as large as you get a new system, right? So so it probably make more sense to go in a new system, because even though you upgraded, you're still old technology and things like that. So for that bank, we put in TCS banks, quite modern. So Java-based front end, but middle tier still COBOL, but able to run on Unix.
Okay. And by then you were with Mbank already?
I was in Mbank for about 3 years, and then after that, then I joined OCBC for a while. Okay. So OCBC was quite fun, because that was the first job that I had an operational role. So because all this while I was doing projects, right? And then so when I joined OCBC, they asked me to look after Kamal. They asked me to look after Great Eastern. Okay. So I ran infrastructure operations for Great Eastern, because OCBC Group, Great Eastern outsourced the infra to OCBC. Right. So I was based in Cyberjaya, and Cyberjaya ran the infrastructure and data center ops for Great Eastern. So I ran that for about 2 years. Then I had quite a good offer to become CIO of Hong Leong Bank. Okay. So I thought, okay lah, let's see what the real CIO job is.
That was what year when you moved to?
When I moved to Hong Leong, I was in 2014.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was there
in the city lah.
Yeah, that was in the city before the new building came up, right? So that was in Jalan Tun, Perak. Yeah, so that was quite interesting.
2014, you were CIO for
Hong Leong Bank. 2014 to about 2016. Okay. Right? And then I left, and I did 2 years of some part-time... so I didn't work full-time for a couple of years.
Why did you leave Hong Leong?
Yeah, there are some there's some stories.
Some drama
probably a bit too difficult to talk. Yeah.
But okay, so
I left, and then so that time my I don't know whether you know, but so my wife was a stroke patient. So I left Hong Leong, and I spent a bit more time looking after her, and then that's why I didn't work full time. So I was doing some part timing. And then I think in 2018, an ex-Accenture partner said, "Hey, what are you doing? You're still not working full-time. I want to come back and work full-time." So I said, okay lah. Because my son also was about to start university. So I thought, okay lah, better go back and work full-time lah. So I came back, and so I joined the Star lah, because the Star was quite close to my place, and I thought still looking after my wife, so I thought better do something a little bit.
So that was when you offered the CIO role?
Yeah, so I went over to Star. So then one thing led to another. It's been 2 years, almost 2 years. April I'll be 2 years in the Star.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, obviously, total change of industry, total
Yeah,
change
yeah,
of
yeah.
environment.
Quite a different
How
change.
was that?
So a lot of changes because so I came from an environment which was highly regulated, always gonna audit by auditors, and worse still, when I was in Hong Kong, I was also running Singapore,
Okay.
right? So I not only kena audit by Malaysians, I also kena
Also
audit by
the-
MAS, right?
Right.
So so it's quite strenuous. So and then everything was on-prem. So and during 2014 period, cloud adoption not very wide. So we tried to do some things on the cloud. Basically, didn't really get the full green light from Bank Negara lah. So we had to apply. So even that time, I was even considering doing Office 365.
Okay.
For emails.
Yeah.
And
Just
even
for
that,
productivity pun susah.
even that had to apply, and we didn't really get straightforward answers. But what was very clear is no customer data in the cloud. So we had some small things like e-learning. We had some talent management stuff in the cloud lah. That was it in 2014, 2015, right?
And then into the Star, what?
And then when I went to the Star, so we still had some on-prem, but everything else was in the cloud. So it was usually cloud first.
So what was the state of the Star when you moved in the first day? So
when
how was that?
when I walked into the Star, actually there were a few pockets of IT. So there was so the traditional IT department looked after print. Okay. So
as in the physical printing.
Physical printing, right? So there was a content management system where the reporters will write their articles and file it there. So that system was running on-prem. And then there were advertising systems, things like that. So that was all on-prem. So a lot of the traditional guys all do the on-prem stuff. And then there was a new unit called Digital Services Unit. So that had another 20, 30 guys. Those guys were cloud-based. Right, separate team,
and
separate
both
floor.
were within you? Within the below the
the day I walked in, no lah. Then I had to rope them together. And then we had another team doing OTT, the dim sum, right, which is the Netflix equivalent. And then we had another team doing Star Property, right. So another small development team doing the Star Property, Car Sifu, right. So
they did have digital platforms already lah.
We did have, but
right?
but it was quite disorganized, a little bit disorganized because so we have print and then we have online. So print and online were two separate content management system, or what we call CMS. Okay. So what that meant was, if I have an article, so reporter writes an article, that article you file it and then you print it out for tomorrow's newspaper lah. But that same article you can push online, right? But what that so in the past in 2001, that guy literally cut and paste or copy and paste the article into a second CMS. Because the second CMS powered it online. Right. So
let's step through that a little bit, right? So what would a reporter who's out on the field do with the story? He'll come back. And then,
so last time that guy would come back and then he would sit down and then he would type it up and then he would submit.
So he load up on Word.
There's like a notepad kind of thing. And then he loads it up into the CMS and then
so that even that platform is part of the CMS lah, where he writes the story.
He writes a story there, and then there's pagination layout. That one also is almost like separate system. Because you got to do separate pagination and formatting for print. And then because that article goes into a database, then the online guys, the guys who run Star Online, would go into that database, copy and paste the article into a separate CMS. Right.
So the cycle of news for print obviously is daily, right? So So what time do they have to put all their stories?
There's a cutoff lah. I think then was by between 7 to 9. I think 9 p.m. Yeah.
So
but you can but can you hold? So if they're breaking news, you can hold back one. But
just something in lah.
Hold back means you But so there are ways lah. So like front page usually they hold. So you got opportunity to slip something in.
Right. So those guys who would put that, so assuming a normal day, so 8, 9 o'clock they stop. Then they
stop. Then there's a print cycle lah. So
then what about the digital guys? When do they go in to plug the stories.
Also, the
from
digital guys go in all throughout the day. So if there's a story, he just goes in and he grabs it. Yeah.
So which means
But it's a copy and paste. So
okay.
yeah.
But isn't there like a final editor or something at 8 p.m. to say, okay, these are the
So
stories
digital a bit different. So print usually got editors. So digital also got editors, but the cycle is a bit faster lah.
Okay.
Yeah, because
So they will just go grab into the print CRM system these stories.
Yeah, he copy and paste
Copy,
to another
so it would
system.
actually be released online first before print lah. For the
yes,
stories.
for some stories, yes. Correct.
Okay.
Right. But you can see there's some inefficiencies because you got copy and paste. But so that was one of the first things that we did lah. We collapsed the two CMS into one. So now we are on one CMS.
Okay.
So now reporter can be outside. He can be in He can be like camping out at makan chocolate at
and right now in front of the Istana and all that lah.
Then he faster go to Starbucks or through his Wi-Fi he can push something to the CMS.
Okay.
Then he pushes to the CMS. Then the online guys can take that same article and push it online. Right, so the cycle is much smaller because it's in one CMS, and then that same CMS, the social media guys can push to Twitter and to Facebook lah. Right, so last time all copy and paste last time.
So what was the effort like to collapse it? Did you guys build from scratch? Or
No. We got just like core banking lah. We saw a few vendors. So we picked one which we thought was okay, which was quite online savvy. And then and then we start. Then just like any other system, there will be requirements gathering. There will be some enhancements to meet your maybe some requirements. Yeah.
Okay.
So we started. So I think. So I joined too early. I joined April 2018. I think this year. This is 2020. Last year. October we migrated print to the new CMS.
Okay.
And then
so
July
really
and then July last year we migrated Star Online to the new CMS.
Okay.
Yeah. So generally quite new lah.
Right. Still within a year.
Yes.
July last year.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. How do you think doing that has impacted the Star and the reporters and the whole efficiency?
Definitely more efficient because you no longer need to copy and paste. And I think because the new system, the old system was if I'm not mistaken, is stick client and things like that. So new system all browser based, so you literally can be outside. So we support literally mobile first, right? And the old system was a little bit old. I think the old system was maybe 10, 15 years old. So we also got an archive system. So some of the old articles or images that photographers take, those also go into the archive. So last time you literally had to go into a separate system. So like sometimes you see in the newspaper, we got file pictures of Tun Mahathir and he looks quite young. Yeah. Right. So those are all from archive one, right? But so in the past, the guy has to go into a separate system, go and search for it. So now, one search, we search the archive simultaneously. So you you can pull up the old pictures and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So we did that. Okay. So the day I stepped into the Star, the teams they were separate teams. So teams need to be merged. And then we did some collapsing of systems, just like.
So you pretty much had a free hand to go in and shake things about.
But because we also have to watch spend and all that, so have to seek approval and things like that lah. Yeah.
But essentially, you did right? You
So we went through the same process. Go to the board, tell them this is what needs to be done. Then we also had.
What was the pitch to the board? Why did you have to do this?
Firstly to support mobile first, and then operational efficiency, and then also OPEX, because the old system was a European system, so OPEX was a lot higher. Yeah, so
okay.
And then we also were running two CMS, so obviously double the OPEX, right? So now we collapse it into one, and one OPEX. So that was the CMS. Then for digital business, we also had the advertising server, ad server. So and then we so ad server also that time I think we were running So there are many ad servers out there in the market lah. When the day I stepped in, some systems were running system A, some systems were running system B. So already we got some inefficiencies.
Oh, you mean within Star
Yeah,
itself?
we didn't
there's a
start.
couple of
So
red-
Star
oh, I
Online
see,
was
okay.
running like A, and then maybe Kuntum was running B, and then
Right.
Dim Sum was running something else.
Okay.
Right. So we had to just standardize, and then because to support digital business also, we have something called a DMP, a data management platform. So
Okay.
right. So if you don't know what a data management platform, basically it's a system that basically tracks cookies. So we had a DMP at that point in time. Right? Data management platform is called a DMP, but some platforms implement a DMP, some don't. So for us, because we have many sites on the internet, so not only do you have the Star Online, we got Dim Sum, we got the M Star, then we got the radio stations and all that. So we got easily about 10 to 15 sites, and then different apps. It's quite important to standardize everybody on the same DMP because when you standardize everybody on the same DMP, what that means is when you're on Star Online, and then you move from Star Online and then you go to Star Property and you go and search your house. Then from Star Property, maybe you go to, I don't know, My Star Job and look for a job or something like that. We can tell that you're the same person.
Right. Which you couldn't before.
Which we couldn't before because some did implement, some didn't implement. And that ability to tie the same cookie to the same person or the same device is just quite important because it helps us with pushing the right ad. Right, so if you're on different ad servers, also quite susah because the different ad servers all do different things. So now we standardize. We say this is how we track the cookies, and this is how we determine the guy's preferences.
Yeah.
And because the guy's preferences, we know that the guy is doing this when he goes from one place to another. We know how to push the right content on the right. So the ability to push the right content on the right ads is at least there right now.
When did you guys start implementing the need to log in for your online? This is my pet peeve right now.
So we turned that on, I think, last year.
Okay.
Yeah, I think November.
And
yeah,
I have to say that from a end user customer experience standpoint, it sucks. Because somehow it keeps asking me to log in again and again, as opposed to,
so I think in the early days we had some teething, some maybe not so good user experience because I think the login was itself on a different system. Right, so we reused that, but I think we've recently migrated. That's why sometime in February we've asked you to change your password because we moved to a different login. So hopefully the experience is
better.
Hopefully lah,
we shall see.
right? And then hopefully it doesn't ask you to log in so many times lah. Yeah. So there was a need to do that because ultimately, when you're part of the media company, I think traditionally revenue used to come biggest from print. But we are in a disrupted industry, so revenues are dropping.
So I wanted to ask you that specifically. So when you first came in, can you share what the split was between print and digital?
The split between print and digital lah.
The revenues there was.
I think agak maybe 80% print.
Okay, that was about 2 years ago.
Yeah,
I'm assuming it would have been a downward trend as far as print is.
So
still
so if you look at total revenue, it's a challenge industry lah. We every newspaper company also
the whole pie is shrunk.
And then what makes it difficult is people all shift to online. But the problem with online is while print declines at a certain percentage, online advertising doesn't. It's picking up for us, but it's not picking up at the same decline rate.
So you're not compensating one to one.
So it's not. So we got to find different ways to compensate that. That's why we started a login because we have to find different ways to introduce new revenue streams. So
how does that work?
So one of the revenue streams we are toying around with is to charge lah, right? So that's coming up soon.
It's coming, or you're toying with it?
It's coming. Yeah, is in fact the login is part of that. So we introduced the login because we wanted to. That's why when if you notice when you we asked you to slowly log in, and then I think in the November, December time frame.
Okay, carry on.
November, December time frame, I think we keep track in terms of how many articles we gave you for free.
Right.
And then if you hit a certain limit, so we were already tracking you. If you hit a certain limit, then we encourage you to register.
Okay.
Right. And then after you register, then we give you more for free. So we're still not charging you right now, but the day I think we turn on.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah, it will, but it will. Because
So
that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to introduce a new revenue stream. But we know it's going to be challenging. But we've got to find ways, different ways to supplement revenue. So this is one of the ways. And we hope that through encouraging you to log in, we then know who you are. Because if you don't log in, you see, while we have implemented the DMP, if you do not log in, we can only tell from the cookie based on your device. So if you access Star Online 3 different ways, because you got 3 different mobile phones or 1 iPad and then 2
laptop at home,
1 laptop, then if you don't log in, we detect you as 3 separate fellas.
There's no way you'll know.
Right? But when you log in, then at least we can tie you. So what we're trying to pitch to you is, we really try to know you a lot better, so that then we can push the right content to you, and then hopefully we can give you more features. So now if you log in, we've got a few additional features that we're slowly enhancing to give you more features. So there are bookmarking features in there, and then there's some personalized recommendation that we're testing out that we're giving to you if you log in.
Okay.
Right. So hopefully that entices you to log in. Right. Because it's tough you got to find a way to make money somewhere.
I guess that brings 2 questions to mind. Number one is, obviously you guys would have looked at Europe, US, right? And they've been maybe 5 years ahead, right? In terms of starting to charge, right? New York Times and Economist and all that, right? They're starting to charge. Did you see any kind of trends in terms of, was there a drop-off rate? Did they actually made that transition successfully in terms of making more money?
Yeah, definitely there's a drop-off rate. So, for example, I think, we call it conversion rate lah. So, like Malaysia Kini. Okay, so the ability to charge for the newspaper industry, we call it a paywall lah, right?
A what?
We call it a paywall. So that's the technical term for charging lah. So we put up a wall and then you got to pay lah.
Right.
So but there are different types of paywall. So Malaysia Kini's paywall is what we call a hard paywall. So you
have to pay your subscription, and then
is pay. If you don't pay, then I don't let you in, right? So that's Malaysia Kini model, right? And then I think there's a few other subscribers that does that kind of model. We hope to use analytics to give you what we call a dynamic paywall. So our paywall is a little bit smarter. So because we collect your preferences and so we know that you are what kind of articles you're reading. So and because we know what kind of articles you're reading, we have the opportunity to either lower the threshold, either make it higher or make it lower. So if we know that you, let's say, like to read sports, right, and you always come back and read our sports articles, then
even though we've lost 3 times in a row now, but so let's assume, right?
Yeah, that's a different story. So if we know that you've been reading sports articles, then we know that maybe chances are, if we lower the paywall for you, then maybe if we entice you to pay,
I would still do it lah.
Yeah, because you really,
I really want to find out. Right?
But if you then come and read our travel articles, and then we realize, but this guy hardly read travel article, then we don't bodo straight after 1-2 articles, we already ask you to pay lah. So that's what a dynamic paywall is, the ability to fine tune, and the numbers we can up and down. In fact, the paywall is already up. It's just that we set the number to 0 right now.
I see.
Right, because we are trying to learn. So back to conversion rate. So when I think Malaysia Kini's conversion rate is about 0.5%. Right, so that's
0.5%.
Yeah, that means people who
converted
number of people who hit the paywall, 0.5% would then go ahead and subscribe.
And that sounds really, really low.
Yeah, it's very low. But
so what you're saying is 99.5% of people will just give up.
Yeah, they'll give up. They'll go somewhere else.
What's an industry standard which is good in terms of conversion?
Okay, so average. Okay, good conversion rate is like Singapore. Singapore, I think, has 5-6%. But Singapore is quite a skewed environment because not trying to kutuk Singapore, but Singapore only has one paper.
To be honest, I don't know.
Yeah, so
Just
Singapore only
Times,
got
Just the
only
Times
got
and that's
Newsstraits Times. So there's really, and then well, they've got the free paper at the MRT,
Right.
but that free paper also belongs to SPH, right?
Right.
So
Okay. So therefore you don't
see
really
what I
have
mean.
choice lah.
Definitely
Whereas,
their conversion rate is
It's
higher.
Okay.
People like New York Times, Washington Post, who we try to strive towards. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they are maybe 2-3%.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's tough, huh?
So it's tough. So but the trick to converting you is actually not technology. It's really good. It actually is just back to basics. It's good journalism, good opinions. So now we track. We know that like the Star, we know people like to come in and read Jocelyn Tan. Right? I mean, if you know who she is, right?
Yeah.
Because of her political analysis and things like that.
Yeah.
So because we've got that kind of data, we internally need to use that data to say, hey, I also have to transform myself. So not everything. So technology doesn't solve everything, but technology gives us the ability to take a pulse read in terms of what people are doing, what people are reading, and through that pulse read, we hope to use that data to then say, hey guys, the content department are then these are type of articles people are trending towards this kind of article. So that also means that you may need to start writing more of these kind of articles. So that's what we try to do. So journey can be quite long and quite tough. But yeah.
So the second thing that came to mind before was, unlike in Singapore, so we have the other competitors that you guys have, right? We've got the Mail, Newsstraits Times, and Malaysia Kini, which has already turned it on. The question then is, who's gonna? I'm sure they all have the same thing in mind, right? It's just a question of who's gonna turn on first, because you probably have the bulk of the drop off, and they'll gain some readership, right? So do you guys have like some kind of a midnight discussion? Hey, when are you guys gonna turn this on?
Yeah. So actually, this conversation about turning on subscription has been on for quite a while. Actually, even way back in 2018, we were already talking about it, and then 2019, there were some discussions between the news publishers. I think they were even toying with first quarter 2019. And then somehow the other newspaper publishers decided that they also takut lah. So then we were thinking that, never mind, we okay one. We go first. So we were we were quite ready. We were ready as early as June, July last year.
Okay.
But then we also pulled back lah, right? Because I also can't remember. I can't remember what we did lah. So in fact, then when we pulled back, then we decided to, okay, never mind, we add more enhancements, and then so we changed strategy. We said, okay lah, maybe we just don't launch it, because at that time when we were ready to launch it in June, July, we were just really thinking of just launching it. That means really literally
just bite the bullet,
then we say, hey, better don't lah. Maybe we launch it with zero payment, collect data first, and use the first few months, right? So that's why our strategy changed. That's why the last few months we've been enticing you to log in, register, so that we can understand your pattern a little bit more. So now we got some numbers. We know how many people have registered. So hopefully those people who registered, those are the ones that maybe hopefully the conversion rate is higher. So we're a little bit more ready. And then when we were ready to launch, then last weekend we wanted to launch last weekend actually, right?
Oh no. Okay, this is too much, right?
Then after that, the saga happened. Then we were thinking, hey, hello, better don't launch, because people will say, oh, this fella political.
Correct.
Then also we hold it.
The news.
Then we wanted to launch actually Monday. Okay. So then Sunday, Tun M, I think Saturday, then Tun M was on the news, and he was saying, oh, there's going to be a parliamentary sitting on Monday to decide.
Yeah.
So then we also changed, we pushed it off. Then after that Sunday, the Agong decided on. Right. So our plans also were
Give
quite
you
fluid
the
lah. Right.
nudging.
So we also gabra. We were like,
So now you need to let's take a step back, take a
so
breather.
we have a date right now, but I think let's go ahead with right.
Yeah. Man,
But I think we're quite ready lah now. So
Okay.
let's see lah. I think.
So when you talked about using the analytics, right, you will be able to see the kind of articles that people write and all that.
Yeah,
right?
kind of articles, what they do.
So if you fast forward that to where the US is today, right? Hasn't that led to more clickbait type kind of headlines, right? Because you do want people to go and read, even something like CNN, right? Have headlines like, "This was what Bernie Sanders said when asked, is there a conspiracy against him?"
Yeah.
That kind of headlines used to be like, the more tabloidy, trashy clickbait type, right?
But
now
I think that
even
one
CNN is doing that kind of top 10 list of whatever, you know. So,
but that one is a
this
company
kind of-
strategy lah. So I don't know. I've been in the staff for about 2 years. I think our content guys are not so tabloidish lah.
Okay.
Right? They are quite
But
prim
would
and
this kind
proper.
But wouldn't this kind of ranking, if you like, of conversion lead your reporters to say, okay, I better have, because I'm sure there is a bit of a internal competition too, right? Who's getting more reads and more clicks, right?
Yeah. So
the more
correct.
clickbaity your headlines are, the more you can get.
Hopefully not, because I think our content people are generally quite stringent. And if you also notice, sometimes people complain to us and say, "Hey, how come this article out in Malaysia kini but Star not yet?" But because generally we take our time to fact check. So because in Malaysia our reputation is quite is not too bad. So people generally say that if it's out in the Star means usually it's quite trustworthy lah. Right. So so usually people have hunted us before and how come this article already published but Star nothing one? But because we literally take so working with the content guys, I know that they are not so clickbaitish, not so easily swayed lah. Hopefully they stay that way.
Their compensation is not tied to
no.
Okay lah, so that's
no lah, compensation not tied. Yeah.
Okay.
Because we got guys who, the content, the writers, they also got some kind of brotherhood, the reporter rule of thumb they tend to adhere to lah. I think, and I can see
amongst them
I can see it's quite. So they got what they call journalistic pride, right? And so this bunch are quite, I think, can pakai on lah. They're not the.
Which is good for the reader lah. So at least you know that
but those kind of things not many people know. So and then so a lot of times we like, my favorite question people always ask me is, so you're owned by MCA? That's my.
And what would your answer be to that?
My answer is yes, but so far I think MCA has not kacau us or exerted influence. So no, right? But that's generally the favorite question I usually get. Hey, Kang Eugene, so you're working for the Star. Wow, you guys owned by MCA.
Do you guys get the midnight phone call and say, print this, don't print that?
So far I've not gotten any midnight. If I get midnight calls, it's not because of that lah. So okay lah. So I can hand on heart tell you, we don't get we don't get that kind of weird pressure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and then the other thing I wanted to ask you was it a few months ago? And there was the launch for the app.
Yes, it was March.
So take me through the logic for that, right? Because I can go to the Star on my browser anyways, right? And I do that, right? And then it'll pop up with the Facebook thing lah. But okay lah, now that doesn't pop up anymore. Right. And then to launch the app. So what's the thinking behind a Star app?
So different people consume content quite differently. So some people, I think, so we've noticed. Okay, so no matter what, app usage generally, people who use apps are generally more. If somebody downloads an app, generally it means he's more loyal towards you lah. Right. So
how many downloads is the app had now?
So our app downloads, I think, is about 350k.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, 350k downloads. Or users, sorry, I think download is probably more, but our total user base for the app is probably about 350,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would say that, as you say, so if you've committed to download the app,
generally you probably use it more often. So we wanted to use the app and entice people to download it so that and then give it more features so that you tend to use the app more often. So when we were building the app, there were some interesting ideas. So one idea is, I think if you use the app, you notice there's like a for you function or something like that, and then there's like a.
I haven't downloaded.
Oh, okay.
I'll do it after this.
So we have this Tinder interface, right, where you swipe, and because we were sitting around and we were thinking about, hey, what makes you want to read a newspaper, physical paper? So like, for example, I old school lah, so I read the physical paper, but I read the paper also because it's quite short. No, every day you just flip through, and then that motion of flipping the newspaper and then the page short. That's me lah. And then I realized, actually quite a number of people also like the flipping, right? And then when you finish the paper, and then when you finish, you have the perception that, okay, I am up to date with today's news.
Right.
So that's why we created that for you function, and we gave it the Tinder interface so that there's a stack of cards. So you just flip through the stack of cards.
Okay.
And then when you finish the stack of cards, you're like, hey, I'm done. To give you the impression that you're done. So that's one interface that we tested out. Then we have the other traditional, different tabs segmented. That one,
which is similar to the website itself,
which is quite similar to the website, right?
Okay.
So the intent is, because if the more people who download our apps, then also gives us more power, because then it knows that you're more sticky. Then we can do more things. We can push better content to you, or we can have better personalization for you lah. Is
there an offline download feature?
Okay, so I think the bookmarks and all that, those are offline. Yeah, there's an offline function. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Now the other thing is, so I can download the app, I can go to the website, but right now I just go to something like Feedly. Right? That aggregates all the news from even the star pops up there too, right? And all this. So there is that fight that you have, right, in terms of, okay, which channel will the reader go to, right? And correct. I do like channels where it's an aggregation or news aggregators lah, right? You just get the headlines and then pull through. So how do you fight with something like that, right? Where as a user, I'm not just reading the star, but I actually get everything across too, right?
Right. Okay, so that's a good question, because we sometimes get the aggregators. Okay, so if I'm not wrong, some aggregators work closely with us.
Okay.
But I think a lot of aggregators don't. They just
scrape.
They just scrape our content. So a lot of cases, if they scrape our content, we send them a cease and desist.
Right. But I think one of the things about the login though is there's a couple of websites in there where they can scrape the headlines and the picture, but when I click on it, it goes ask me to log in to the site. I'm the paywall. So
the original site.
Right, the original site. So I'm stuck. So I can't
see,
read that, right?
See.
So I drop off. So I guess that's how some of the media has managed to handle that, right? They kind of block it.
Correct.
But then that comes to my other question, right? There's, even if you put your paywall on even in a friendly manner, right? That I would pay. But there's just so many alternatives to news now, right? That I'm sure that I can still get the free version of a news in Malaysia, right? Is that something that's an impossible thing to
okay,
to
so that's something that we've also internally discussed. We have to start categorizing our content. So things like news, generally we give it for free. So even though we put the paywall, so you will notice if you didn't notice, some of our content got a little padlock on it. So those news content, I think
I have seen that.
Yeah, so the news content has no padlock. No padlock means it's free.
Yes, actually you're right. Some of the more, I don't know, editorial type pieces.
So if it's editorial, those are the ones that we... Because we already study the behavior, we already know that, you see, if it's commodity news, like Tu Mahathir's speech, you can get
like
it.
This one, for example, right?
Yeah, so you can get it somewhere
there's an padlock.
So that's probably free lah. So so the intent is, remember I told you about how we use analytics to try to determine what people read more. So that is meant to give us some insights and transform ourselves to say that maybe we need to write more of those kind of analysis or or critical thinking, right? I wouldn't say we are 100% there yet. I think we've got some ways to go compared to people like Washington Post and Guardian. So if you've read the Guardian, those critical analysis articles are really quite hard hitting. So I think that's an indication for us to transform ourselves towards that kind of journalism lah.
And I guess that literally boils down to the journalists themselves lah.
Yeah,
right? In
yeah,
terms of content,
journalists
lah.
and then the editors. So through the data that we give them, hopefully that gives them some guidance in terms of where they should be shifting their writing towards.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we look forward a little bit, right? So today, the moment when you came in, was there an app when you came in, or there was something that you?
When I came in, we had an app, but the app was I think quite old lah.
Okay,
and then we wanted to refresh the app because after a while things get a little bit stale.
So you've combined the content management system. You know, you've refreshed the website, and now you got the app. You've introduced the paywall, which someday
coming
will
soon.
soon.
Right.
So what else is on the pipeline? For
okay,
reader?
so we are not just news. We've got other lines of business. So we have been quite busy building our different lines of business. So our Star Property, we used to have Star Property. We used to have Prop Wall. So we have merged it into one.
Okay.
And then we also own iBilik, which is a platform for you to go and rent rooms, right?
I have not heard of that.
Yeah, so
That's like Airbnb lah.
it's kind of lah, but yeah, not really. So yeah, kind of lah, right? But it's room rental lah. So let's say you want to rent out your room, right? Your house got one, so it's long-term rentals but short-term rentals is in Star Property, right? Those Airbnb type is in Star Property.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then we've got a few other verticals like. But our strongest vertical is the property side lah. So we got other verticals like we got Car Sifu, which is a car portal, and then we've got My Star Jobs, which is like a job site, but that one needs some revamping. And then we've got I think we've got a bereavement side, we've got the OTT side. So the intent is, and then we got radio channels. So I think the last 1 to 2 years has been spent in terms of rationalizing our platforms, standardizing our base capability so that so that all our digital assets can be tracked as one, as it's a single ad server, single DMP. So we are already on one, so we have the ability to do that. So now, and then we've started to strengthen the individual platforms. So we started with strengthening Star Online. We started strengthening the app. E-paper we just rolled out. Right.
What's the e-paper?
So you buy the physical paper, but then there is a electronic version of the e-paper, which is literally like a PDF.
Okay.
Right.
Why? What's the logic behind that?
Yeah. So there are people who actually want to read the physical paper, but they don't want to. They are now digital savvy, so they want to read the paper, but they want to read it electronically.
Oh, so it's basically.
So
it looks exactly in terms of the layout.
Correct.
Like
and then when you click the page, also flip and things like that.
As opposed to, if you go to your app or the website,
Correct.
the articles are all put together.
So the app and the web, the articles are forever changing because it's as and when news are breaking, the articles change. But the e-paper is like a snapshot in time, just like the physical paper.
Okay.
So
that get released in the morning too lah.
That one gets released, I think, I can't remember what time now, 5 a.m. or something like that.
So where do you get the e-paper from?
We take a cut. So from our CMS, when we print the physical paper, there's an electronic file that goes to another system.
Right.
And
as a customer, where do I get the e-paper?
Oh, you can download. There are apps, or you can go to. I think there's a website that you can. But it's also subscription right?
Okay.
Right. So
that's walled up already. That's paywall.
Kind of lah. So that one is almost like a hard paywall lah.
Okay.
Right. But that has been a model for quite some time because the thinking is newspaper is 180 per newspaper, and then if you don't want to buy a new newspaper, you subscribe to e-paper lah. So when you subscribe to e-paper, it's either 1 month or 1 year or 6 months. So when you total up, it's cheaper lah.
And that gets emailed to you.
No,
or you have to download.
you access the app and then you download the latest one every day lah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh,
so we've got three ways to consume news,
Mm.
right? The online through the app, physical, and then through e-paper lah,
Okay.
right? But the physical and e-paper is the same,
Mm.
right? Okay, so we've been spending time strengthening the brands. Now with the paywall, the next few months will be analyzing and seeing how the reader, how the drop-offs and all that, and then we've got marketing systems all tied in so that we slowly send you small little reminders, right? So we've got all that hooked in already, and so the rest of the year is basically strengthening the other brands. So we're spending some time strengthening Star Property, strengthening the radio. So the radio also we've launched we've got
Digital
Surya
radio.
and then we've got 988, which is a Chinese radio station.
Yeah.
So we've launched an app for 988, and then that got some different features in there lah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So the intent is actually we are more than just a newspaper. So the intent is to go to advertisers to basically say that, look, I now have an end-to-end offering. I have physical. I also got, I think we've got some billboards up also. So we got physical, we've got out of home, we've got digital, we've got radio. Right. So what that means, and because I have standardized on the same tracking platform, the intent is basically to tell advertisers that if you advertise with us, we are not just newspaper lah. We have different ways of reaching out to your audience. So that's what we're trying to do from a strengthening perspective lah. So that's why if you read our paper, you would have seen we have started to toot our horn and say that reach over 20 million of our audience. But the 20 million audience actually can be broken down. So it's about 10-11 million on Star Online, and then I think it's about 5-6 million on M-Star, which is M-Star is the Malay news.
Right.
And then I think so each one of these channels all add up. So that's why it adds up to 20 million.
Okay.
Right.
What's the circulation for print?
Oh, that number, if I'm not wrong, I think it's about 180 to 200,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's dropped. It's dropped quite a bit. Last time used to be a lot higher lah.
Yeah, but the peak would not have been anywhere near 20 million anyway.
No lah.
Right.
Definitely not 20 million. Right.
So
So Star Online is so when we had general election in 2018, I think Star Online hit 12 point something million a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a bit.
But that is what's the right word? That is not deduplicated lah, because you're not registered.
Because you're using multiple devices.
So if you're accessing through 3 different devices, I count you as 3 lah. So it's 12 point. I can't remember 12 point what, 12 point something.
Okay.
And then I think on average every month we are about 8 million, 9 million. And then last month we hit about close to 11 because of the saga lah. So
then after the logins and the paywalls coming up, then you should have better numbers lah.
Well, let's see lah. So there are different points of view. So some people will say the numbers may drop. But that's why we started to access. That's why when we turn on the paywall, we still give you the ability to read some news for free, right? Because we cannot hard paywall you. When you hard paywall you, definitely your numbers will drop, right? So you soft paywall you or you dynamic it, then some articles we still give you for free, right? Then still you will come in, right?
Yeah.
So that's the intent.
I was saying how, if you look at the other papers, it's a question of who's going to do it first. I guess on one hand, you'll be the first to be hit. Right?
Yeah, I guess so.
But on the other hand, you'll be the first to really understand how much revenue and the appetite for people, right? To do this.
Correct.
So it's a trade-off you have to do.
Yeah.
Wow, exciting.
So it's a learning experience lah. I mean, it's we all new, right? So we also don't know, because whatever experience in US and all that may be quite different, right? Because our guys here all very kedekut one, they all don't want to pay. So we also a bit takut. So let's see lah what happens.
Yeah.
Right. So it's fine tuning lah.
Yeah, true.
Right? So as we go along, we fine tune. But the good thing is, at least ours is not a hard paywall, so we can fine tune, right? And then we can change our rules. So we got some rule engine in the background that that we can change. So yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So as you strengthen all the other components, I get right? The radio and all that. How do you see new technologies coming in to impact all that? Right.
So okay, so new technologies are always being considered, but some of it actually does not naturally impact the portals immediately. A lot of what we have started to implement actually impacts operations. So it's not something you see very explicitly. So for example, we've got some AI technology that we've started to use. Okay, so we've got some very, very mundane AI technology that does cost optimization for storage, right? So our storage is all in the cloud, but if you've used the cloud, you know that these cloud vendors all hit you. They give you 1,000,001 options, right? And then they hope that you choose the wrong option, because if you choose the wrong option, then you perpetually pay, right? So we've got some AI that studies how our data is being stored, and then because data that is not accessed often, you actually can move it to a lower tier storage, right? And lower tier storage you pay lower lah. So we got some AI that does that kind of monitoring, and when it sees that data not so hot anymore, it's a bit cold, then I push it to lower tier storage, right? Not very exciting, right? But impacts operations, helps lower costs. And then the guys in dim sum, right? Because dim sum is predominantly Asian content, right? So we got no English programs on, so it's all Korean, Thai, Chinese, and then there's translations. So in the past we actually got translators working for us.
Right, sit there, listen,
listen, and faster go and translate, right? But now we've introduced, so we got software that does translation, right? So last time we got 4 translators. So now I think we've cut down to 1 or 2. So the software does the first pass, right? And it's got machine learning and all that, right?
You still need to have somebody to.
Definitely. You cannot just immediately push it up, because they sometimes there could be some errors. But the good thing is faster lah, right? So so our translation, so it helps us do translation a lot faster. And then when my journalists write articles, right? They don't only file the articles as in, they also got what we call meta text. Okay. So meta text is when you file your article, you got to tag the article to say, okay, this article about Dr. Mahathir, GE14, politics, UMNO. So those are little tags that are stored.
It's like hashtags lah.
Correct. They are stored with the article, so that when we do a search, we also search the hashtags, right? But the problem with that kind of approach is that's generally quite manual, right? So your journalist needs to tag it correctly. So in one article, if one joker tags an article as Dr. M, and another fellow tags the article Tun M,
it's
two different tags, right? So you cannot find a correlation. So we've got some programs that basically, again, it's machine learning. It scans through the article and then it do auto tagging for you, right? So the good thing is, at least the tags are consistent, right? And then now we are enhancing our programs to do like sentiment analysis and things like that, because there's certain things that you want to tag, but it's not so apparent, right? So like sometimes in the entire article, it's quite politically biased, but it's written in such a way that it's not very apparent. So you want to put some special text. So we're writing some programs, testing out to see whether it can pick that kind of sentiments rather than obvious ones, because the obvious ones are so our current programs now do it through keywords. So it scans your article. If it sees certain keywords many times, then that's one tagging lah. Right. But sometimes
it's almost like a pattern recognition, right?
So there's opportunity to do that kind of stuff, right? So it's quite interesting lah, right? But you don't see it very explicitly, right? Because the only one that is probably quite explicit is the one we did for Quali lah. So we've got the cooking site called Quali, and then we've got a Quali app.
Okay.
Right. So if you download the Quali app, we've got a small little AI thing. So if you're at home and then you go to your kitchen, right, and then you check your kitchen, you realize you got broccoli, then you don't know what to cook, you can actually take the Quali app snap the broccoli, and then
all the recipes will come up for broccoli.
and then it will pick up all. Yeah, then it recognizes it's a broccoli, right? So that
Yeah,
one is
cute.
probably
Yeah.
more explicit, lah. As in, So we've done something like that to firstly test out the technology, and then also to automatically recommend. Yeah, so that one is probably the one most explicit. But a lot of the other new stuff that we implement, you don't see it because it's all in the back end. And then I think in December we've experimented with some gamification. So I don't know whether you remember, we wanted to tie offline to online, right? So in our newspaper we embedded some pictures of cinema seats. Then we encourage you to take our app, snap if you can find. So if you can find three pictures of the cinema seats, then and then you get rewarded lah. So we wanted to test out and see whether how many people would be willing to do that kind of stuff. Take out the phone, snap, and then get rewarded lah. So we got some statistics.
Right.
So that was a way to drive online to offline lah. And that same technology we can also use to drive a person to a physical location, right? So for example, if Tesco is our advertiser, right, we can embed some things there where you snap on the newspaper and then you go and redeem it somewhere. So that, I mean, the possibilities are there lah. So those things we've experimented now. Right?
So it sounds like you do have the culture of experimenting in the stuff.
Yeah. We experiment, and
Is that something that, so do you guys do everything in-house normally, or do you use lots of third party?
We do, I think we do maybe 80% in-house. We've got some vendors where we outsource some turnkey projects if we got no capacity lah. So we got because sometimes the business want to roll things out fast. Then we got no capacity because we're also busy doing our things. So those we bring external vendors in, and then we just parcel a small piece of work out.
But in general, it is just your
in general, we try to do everything because we also try to cut costs, and then we use a lot of interns also. We got so we got quite a number of interns who come in, play things and test things around.
That's quite agile.
Yeah.
Because you would think the staff, is it old-ish company, from technology. You wouldn't think newspaper as a beacon of technology, right?
Yeah, but a lot of it is like I said, a lot of it is not very apparent. So for example. We are, a lot of things are API based right now. So in the past, we had very few APIs. So for example, our mobile app and our Star Online, they are pretty much abang adik. So, so whatever you see in the web, we expose as an API. So our app, the app that you, so the app is basically 80-90% UI UX. And then everything is just an API call to pull the content up, right?
Yeah.
So that's generally what we do lah. So our mobile team is spending a lot of time doing basically UI UX stuff. So the heavy lifting is done on the web team. So they are the guys building the APIs. And then we have started to experiment with serverless, right? So we've got Lambda stuff because we use AWS. So we got Lambda scripts and all that. Just to test things out a little bit.
So just to touch on the APIs, it also then opens up your capability to have lots of partnerships, right? Externally. Not just rely on your own channels. Right?
Correct.
Is that
possible
something that starts heading down to?
We have explored. So we've talked to some people. I think probably has not taken off lah, but we are ready lah. So our APIs are ready, ready to be consumed lah. Yeah.
So I don't know if I have a football website, right? And
possible.
Just pull just the
possible.
Football type news in, right? That kind of bottles. Okay. Well, you've just passed the hour.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's been really good. Thank you very much.
No worries.
I guess one last question is for yourself personally.
Sure.
Right? Coming to 2 years
right.
At the Star. Enjoying it still? And,
okay.
And what next for you?
What next? I think there's still quite a number of things to be done. Can be quite interesting. So now the next phase is all analytics and all that lah. Right? Like I said, the first year was just get basics right, and then second year was clean up all your different products. So we're at a stage where we already collecting data. So I think this year, next year, will be analyzing the data and see what we can do with the data lah, right? Yeah, so that's probably the next wave lah.
And I think that's quite interesting too, right? In terms of
it should be quite
trying
interesting
to understand human behavior and how
understand human behavior, and then it also helps with the paywall, because at least now we got some numbers, right? So we try to understand who doesn't click on our EDMs, who clicks, and after a while jettison. That all those are quite useful data lah, right? And then and then even ads and things like that. Who looks at certain ads, who consumes what kind of content.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's all around that area lah.
Anyway, thanks a lot for coming in.
Yeah, no worries.
Looking forward to, I was going to say looking forward to not the paywall, but all the other new stuff.
Hey, support sikit
of
lah. Hello,
course,
very cheap only.
I will definitely try. And then we'll have you back in maybe in a couple of months.
And
that'll
be
see how
interesting.
it's gone.
Yeah.
And let me see if I get a lot more locked articles. Or
articles. Then you can call me lah and say, hey, what happened here?
I hold you to that.
No worries, no worries.
Okay, bro.
Always willing. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Bye.